No one tells you this before you become a dad. Training doesn't get harder, it gets more honest. You find out really fast why you were training in the first place. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about what I tell my pre dad self about training. Now, before I get into today's episode, I like to go over anything when it comes to fitness, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to life that I think that you may find valuable. So, kicking off today's episode, got 5 mile run in this morning, kicking off the week. I typically take the weekends off to be with my family to rest and recover. I'm usually lifting 5 days a week and I'm running 5 days a week, but I do like to take the weekends off to just again rest and recover. First run of the week is one I used to do on Thursdays, but I find that just getting one of the harder runs out of the way earlier in the week just sets the tone for the rest of the week. But just feel like I've been dealing with some just nagging injuries. Nothing going to the doctor about, but like last week, it was a little bit. I went running in more of a slush. Came back and my right Achilles started to hurt, and then it was my left knee started to hurt, and then over the weekend my shin started to hurt. It's just been dealing with these nagging injuries a little bit. Nothing to really slow me down. They'll come and they'll go. Not too concerning, but just enough to know that they are there. I know last week it was just a grind to get through the runs last week, especially on Friday, where on Wednesday I did Bulgarian split squats and I did pendulum squats, and I hadn't done both of those in about a month. So just trying to walk was quite a bit of pain within my quads on Thursday and especially Friday. Then Thursday I did deadlifts, I did back exercises, shoulder, tricep, but it was more doing the deadlifts where I hadn't done deadlifts the week prior. The week prior had been Christmas. I typically do my deadlifts on Thursdays, so just happened to skip a week with them to be with my family. And it was just my legs were killing me, my back was killing me, and not in the sense where they're straining anything, more just getting that delayed onset muscle soreness from the legs and then from the back just being sore, in the sense of just activating muscles I hadn't done in a little bit. So it was just a grind last week, and I think that's sometimes it's just going to be that way when it comes to working out, when it comes to running. Some days I feel great running and I can push myself. Some days I feel great in the gym, but what that led me to today is I got about 3 miles into my run, and I was doing a lot of pull downs today, and I wanted to get I was doing 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. So I wanted to get to 10 reps, and I think I just held on to it up high too long, and when I pulled it down, didn't really think anything of it. And then today in the run, my left ribs have been hurting a little bit. Not that it's hard to breathe, but just a little bit sore. I think maybe just strained it a little bit, holding up on the at the top of the lat pull down a little too long. So it's just been nagging injuries for the last little while, and I'm not really one to let an injury slow me down. Maybe it's not the smartest move, but I find that a lot of times it's just soreness. It's just a little bit of a strain. Sometimes I may take a little bit off when I'm running or lifting, but for me, like I have to be like needing surgery or just in the absolute pain for me to not go out there and train, because I don't want to make excuses, but at the same time, I don't want to be dumb. I think anytime when you're running, when you're lifting, I wish I felt the greatest that I could all the time. I wish I could go out and run and lift and never have any pain, but it's not pain, it's just soreness, it's just little nagging injuries here or there, but just overcoming it. And so many times we see this hybrid athlete sort of lifestyle of running and lifting, and it's easy to get caught up when you see folks online that are doing these 100-mile weeks and on top of lifting and really pushing themselves and not realizing that for me it seems pretty average of just going out there and getting these 30 miles in. And and doing these weightlifting sessions, and I'm constantly dealing with these nagging injuries. And sometimes by the time Friday comes around, I'm just absolutely spent at the end of the week. So sometimes it's just listen to your body, figuring out what's going on, and then making the decisions. I don't want to say based on that because my mind, like when I'm out there, I'm running 2.5 miles into the run today. I know I have a big hill coming up. I hate this hill. I run it once a week. I hate running this hill. It's steep. You get to the top of it, it just keeps going up, and then you have a tiny little decline, and then you're right back up, and you're running up it. And I hate this hill. But I run it every week, regardless whether or not I hate it. And I'm 2.5 miles in. I know that this hill is coming up on my run, and in my mind, I'm like, I just want to stop running. I just want to quit. I want to just stop. I want to call my wife, say, hey, come pick me up. I want to retire my shoes, and I never want to run again. And that's just in my mind because I know what I'm about to experience it's not going to be easy. My mind it wants to take the easy way out, which would be not running, which would not be running up this hill. But life isn't easy, and I want to continue to push myself. So I make sure that I continue on. I don't listen to that voice in my head, and I try to reclaim my thoughts and think about, okay, where I am in this moment. And I think about, how do my legs feel? My legs feel great. It's just all in my mind because my mind is going to quit a lot sooner than my legs are going to. So just taking that all in from today's run, and it was cold. It was 16 degrees, but it's supposed to snow later. It was an enjoyable run, but I still lace up the shoes, get out there, get the run in, and I know I'm going to become a better person and feel better because of it. Now, diving into today's episode, which again is what I tell my pre-dad self about training. Now, a lot of guys have the fear that once I have a kid, am I going to lose all my fitness? I mean, your schedule's thrown out the window. I don't know anyone that's had a kid and a newborn and is like, wow, my schedule stayed the exact same, because all of a sudden it's different. Where right now our daughter, she's a little over 2.5. She'll sleep pretty much every night. Very pretty pretty consistent from about 8 p.m. to about 7 a.m. give or take. Here or there, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier, but very consistent. So now when you have a newborn, if I'm getting up at 1 and 3 a.m., am I going to want to get up at 5 a.m. to go out and run when I've been up for the last 4 hours? Probably not. So I was wondering, like, how am I going to make time for the gym with the new responsibilities, with the lack of sleep, and everything that is going on in my life? Because it is a massive change. It's a massive shift in your identity. It's not just all about you anymore. You now have this newborn, this baby that is relying on you for absolutely everything. And if you were someone like myself, I had never handled a baby. I'd never played with with a toddler or anything like that. So this was all very new to me. Now, before I became a dad, I felt as though I had unlimited time. There was no one depending on me before work. There was no one depending on me after work other than spending time with my wife. I could be in the gym for hours. If I wanted to, I could go on runs for however long I wanted to go on. And I was also very rigid at the same time. I have to get up at this certain time. I have to get this workout in. I have to get this mileage in. And I'm still rigid to a very certain degree right now, where I don't want to be going out there and making excuses for everything that's going on. But at the same time, I want to continue to push forward and push myself. And I think there's also that part of the all or nothing thinking, as if I don't get this done today, if I don't get this workout in, if I don't get this run in, something's going to be off. And some days, it's just the reality of fatherhood is that there's just unpredictability. I would have a plan to go out. I want to go out and get a 13, 14 mile run in but my daughter decides and I was going to get up at 4:30 to go do it. My daughter is up from 11 to 4. That run's not going to be great. So maybe I shift it to the next day when I could sleep a little bit better. And shifting priorities where now I have my daughter to take care of. Last week she was homesick. She was homesick about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Things that are outside of my control, but my priority is spending time with her when she's home in the morning, when she's home at night. I don't want to be working. I don't want to be running. I don't want to be lifting. I want to be spending that time with her. And what I learned is that progress comes from consistency. It's consistently showing up to the gym and it's consistently showing up to my runs because I know that at this point in my life, I'm not going to be able to hit a PR every single session. That's the goals. I always want to do better tomorrow than I had done. So let's say my Tuesday workout, I want to push more reps. I want to do more weight than the previous Tuesday. Sometimes there's just times where I've been up all night. There's a lot going on, and I'm just showing up and I'm just getting that workout in. Over time, I realized I don't have as much time as I once had. So I started to focus more on my high quality lifts. If you think bench, lift, squat, you can add in your additional lifts within there, but those are typically going to be your big three lifts. I had my intentional runs. Okay, I know I'm going to be running on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Minimal chunk volume. So I'm not just throwing in exercises just to do exercises. I'm very specific. I'm very focused. I'm in the gym. I'm getting these lifts done, and I'm getting out of the gym because because you want to be training with purpose rather than just training to feel busy. Because when you're training with a purpose, there's a reason that you're there. You're not just going through the motions, and we've all been there. We've all been training where you just show up to the gym, you get through, and you're like, did I actually push myself, or did I just go through the motions? And I want to make sure that as much as I can, that I'm showing up to the gym with purpose, because efficiency becomes your biggest advantage as a dad. Whether you're getting a 30-minute lift in or an hour lift in, if you're focused, if you're not on your phone, if you're taking adequate rest time, if you know exactly what you have to do when you get to the gym and you put the lifts in and you're consistently working on progressive overload, doing more reps, doing more weight the following week, and continue to build that up over time, it's just that's going to be your biggest advantage instead of just going to the gym, taking 3 to 5 minutes in between sets, being on your phone. Just no, I am 100% focused on the task at hand. Now, as I've gotten older and as I become a father, I've learned that recovery matters more than ever. So there's 3 things that I really like to focus on. Sleep. I make sure that I get between 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep per night. When it comes to stress, realizing that there are just things that are outside of my control that I just can't control. And I can only focus on what I can focus on. And then the nutrition aspect of it. Just eating good, high quality meals 90 to 95% of the time. I may enjoy the occasional eating out, may enjoy the occasional pizza. I'm not going to do that every night, but just being very consistent with my nutrition and then allowing some flexibility in there as well. You want to be training for longevity rather than your ego lifts and reckless mileage. So ego lifts is not using the best form, and you can go to any gym and you can see someone. I find it more so than the bench, squatting or doing squats and doing deadlifts, where they're just lifting too much weight. You can tell the form's bad, and they're going to injure themselves because of it. I would rather do proper form and maybe do a little bit less weight, and then same thing with reckless mileage. What is your mileage distance? Are you going from 5 miles to 10 miles to 15 miles? I find that for me, like the sweet spot's 30. One week I jumped from 30 to 40. I found that I was in a lot of pain in my legs. So I jumped back down from 40 to 30, and I find that's a sweet spot for me. I'm not increasing so fast that I do more harm to my body. Now I have to have these non-negotiables as a dad. What is that? Weekly mileage target, like I just mentioned, 30 miles a week of running, strength sessions, 5 strength training sessions a week. I know exactly what I'm doing. I have it all on my notes on my phone. I write, just go down as I go through the workout, just update the reps, update the weight. And then when it comes to mobility and recovery work, I make sure that I stretch before I go for my runs or before I even work out. I have stretching before my runs. I have stretching after my runs. And then on Fridays at the gym, I do just a ton amount of foam rolling on my legs, on my back, on my shoulders. And I know that I put my body through the ringer this week between running and lifting. And now I just have to go ahead and I have to take care of it. Because I want my training that fits my life, not the other way around. I don't want to be like, oh, I have to go run, or oh, I have to go lift. I want to be excited about running. I want to be excited about lifting. Sometimes, I know I talked about it in the beginning of the episode, sometimes it can be a grind when it's week after week of training and running, and especially this time of year. I wake up, I go to the gym, it's dark out. I get out of the gym, it's dark out. There's ice on the ground. I have to worry about not slipping. I go out and I have to just wear a ton of gear when I'm running because it's super cold, not enjoyable, and it can be a grind, but at the same time I know that I enjoy it. I want you to understand that your kids are watching more than you think. That you're not just training for you anymore. That I want my daughter to model the discipline, health, and consistency that I am showing her. I'm showing her what taking care of yourself looks like. If she sees me eating candy and junk food all the time, how is she going to mirror herself? Again, she's 2.5 years old, but if she sees me eating high quality foods, chicken, rice, broccoli, that's a big staple for me every day for lunch, and having good quality dinners. As she grows up, I want her to see what type of foods that I'm putting into my body. Because at the end of the day, just this has become a deeper motivation for me than any race or PR that I could set. And that's just setting the example for my daughter. I have another daughter on the way, so now I'm going to be setting the example for my kids. I just want to show them what it looks like to be healthy, what it looks like to be consistent with your nutrition, so that they take after me as they continue to grow older and grow up. I want you to understand that you're allowed to change your goals. There's seasons where maintenance is a win. When my daughter is a newborn, just getting to the gym, getting for a run, that's a win. Just showing up, getting out there, pushing myself, that is just a win. Now there's seasons where I push again. Now all of a sudden our daughter is sleeping through the night. I have more time. Our daughter has started daycare, so she's not home all the time. Now I can start to push myself again. Okay, my daughter has been sick. She's home. She hasn't slept through the night the last 3 nights. Now I'm back into the maintenance phase till I'm feeling 100% again. Then I'm going to start to push myself. Because fitness doesn't disappear, rather, it compounds over the years. Now, if I could sum it up for my pre-dad self, I should say, I would want to be patient. I would want to train smarter. I would want to protect my consistency and play the long game. Because I want you to stop comparing your training to your pre-kid life because it's totally different. And if you're a dad trying to balance training and family, you're not behind. You're building something sustainable. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. And I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss the hard truth about balance.